There's a hidden reason you can't focus anymore, and it has nothing to do with willpower. Some days you wake up feeling scattered before your feet even touch the floor. There's a hum beneath your skin, like 1,000 voices whispering directions all at once. Your hands reach for your phone before you breathe. Notifications pull your mind into other people's timelines. The task you swore you'd begin, forgotten, not because you don't care, but because you've been hijacked by noise. But what if the real problem was never distraction? What if your mind is sacred, and it's simply vibrating at a frequency not made for chaos? This is the forgotten pain of our time, the loss of sacred attention, a collapse of inner alignment so subtle, it feels like failure. But it's not failure, it's a misalignment of frequency. Let me tell you about Lara. She used to be a dancer, not professionally, not on any stage you'd recognize, Meyer, but the kind who danced through thoughts, moved through ideas like air, until her body stopped moving. Not because of injury, but because her mind never rested. Her browser always had 20 tabs open, half-written ideas, half-felt feelings, a playlist of sounds she no longer listened to. Lara wasn't lazy. She was saturated, fragmented, out of tune. She told me once, "I don't remember the last time I heard my own thoughts without judgment. It's like I'm watching my life through glass." Does this feel familiar? In the temples of Dendera and Luxor, initiates were once trained to hear the silence before sound. Before being granted access to the flowing chambers, rooms where energy and focus merged, they had to pass the trial of stillness, not for an hour, but for days, listening to the air between thoughts, waiting until the temple responded back. You see, flow is not speed, it's not performance, it's not even concentration. Flow is the field where thought, action, and presence become one. It is the alignment of sacred will and divine rhythm. Modern minds chase it as a hack. Do more, faster, clear the inbox, crush the to-do list. But the ancient world whispered a different code. Flow, said Thoth, is the silent river beneath the noise. Only the mind that remembers how to listen may enter it. This is your call to remember, not a call to productivity, but to presence. Not a call to action, but to coherence. Because maybe your mind isn't broken. Maybe it's just tuned to the wrong reality. In the coming moments, we will walk together through the emerald code of focus, not as a technique, but as a transmission, as a ritual. We will speak of the flow state not as a performance tool, but as a temple chamber you once knew. We will remember how Thoth encoded rhythms into thought, and we will step into the frequencies forgotten by time, but still alive in the silence behind your thoughts. But first, feel your body. Close your eyes. Notice how many directions your attention is being pulled toward. This is not weakness. This is a mind that hasn't been taught to return to its temple. But that's about to change. Because what if I told you? The sacred focus you've been seeking externally was always sealed behind a single veil, the one your breath can part. This is the silent chamber of the mind. And you have just entered. You are not distracted. You are misaligned. And now, something inside you knows this isn't just poetic language. It's personal. It's the ache behind your scrolling, the restlessness beneath your ambition, the quiet sorrow of having a mind that was once sharp, now scattered like broken light. But what if I told you that there's a path back, not back to who you were, but forward, into the version of you who never forgot how to listen? Because by the end of this video, if you stay, you won't just understand focus. You'll remember how it feels to be inside it, to move in sacred timing, to act without doubt, to hear your own thoughts like clear bells in a silent hall. And before we go deeper, let me pause here, because this next part isn't for everyone. If you've tried everything to change your life, if you've consumed techniques, built routines, chased productivity, yet something still feels incomplete, like a song missing its first note, maybe it's because you've been shifting the visible, but the hidden cause remained untouched. If something real moved inside you today, that's no accident. Not everyone finds this message, and even fewer feel ready to walk beyond it. But if your heart says yes, touch the subscribe symbol below, not as a task, but as a right. Join this living temple of conscious creators rewriting reality from its true source. And if you feel that others, searching, aching, just like you, deserve to find this resonance too, click like now. That single gesture becomes a pulse in the invisible. It tells the algorithm of the soul that you are here, that something ancient stirred within, that you are listening, not with ears, but with the memory of your light. Now breathe again. You're still here, which means the frequency is beginning to stabilize. It means something in you has already crossed the first threshold. What we call flow is not a gift of the few. It's a return to your original rhythm, the one that existed before stress, before noise, before effort. In the next moments, you'll learn how the ancients entered it not through caffeine or hacks, but through symbol, sound, breath. You'll discover why Thoth never wrote in haste, and what that teaches you about thought, focus, and manifestation. And we'll travel into the invisible geometry of your mind to realign you with the river beneath the noise. But first, let the silence inside your chest grow loud, because where we're going, your attention is the key, and your breath is the door. There is a silence that isn't empty. It is full, alive, waiting, not the silence of absence, but the presence that came before the first word. And in that silence, focus is born. Ancient initiates called it ma'at, not just balance, but cosmic alignment. They believed that only a mind in ma'at could be trusted to shape reality, not because it was perfect, but because it was coherent. In that coherence, the divine could flow, and in that flow, power was safe. You've been told to focus harder, to fight distractions with discipline, but the Emerald teachings whispered something different. Where attention flows, creation follows, but where attention fractures, chaos enters. Now feel this in your own body. Think of a moment, one moment, where everything felt effortless, where you weren't thinking but doing, not analyzing but becoming. That was your soul remembering how to flow. You didn't create that state. You aligned with it. That's what we're here to reclaim, because the real flow state isn't adrenaline or urgency. It is sacred presence. It is the moment your breath, your thought, your will, and your action all vibrate in one field. It's the modern-day version of stepping into the temple of focus, a place within, not outside. And that temple has been locked behind notifications, doubt, and cognitive overload, but it was never destroyed, just forgotten. Let's be clear, this isn't about becoming more productive. It's about becoming more precise. A focused being doesn't just get things done. They bend reality, because where the mind stops leaking, the soul starts speaking. This is why Thoth, the ancient architect of vibration, didn't just teach. He calibrated. Each glyph he inscribed was not a word, but a wave, a frequency, a spell. He knew that to write was to cast, to think was to shape, to speak was to solidify energy into matter. You carry the same power. So as we move into the next chamber, the one where the flow state becomes something you enter, not by chance, but by command, I want you to remember something. You are not a victim of noise. You are a forgotten architect of silence, and this silence is your blueprint. The temple breathes when you do. The symbol appears when you stop chasing it, and the flow begins when you become still enough to feel it. Let this final whisper echo inside you. You are not distracted. You are misaligned, and today, that alignment begins to return. If your mind were a temple, would you enter it with haste or reverence? Imagine for a moment that your mind is not a battlefield, not a system to be hacked, not a machine for performance. Imagine your mind as a forgotten temple with doors that only open when you vibrate at the right frequency, and that this temple, despite what you've been told, still exists within you. You don't need to build it. You only need to remember how to enter. Flow is not about switching to beast mode. It's about crossing the threshold of fragmented awareness and entering a space where time bends before presence. In ancient Greece, initiates called this kairos, sacred time, a time where the now stretches, where action becomes dance, thought becomes ritual, and doing becomes an invisible chant between you and the universe. Flow is not the river, it's the rhythm you activate when your breath and will align. Fragment from the Edfu Codex. In Egypt, when a scribe entered the temple of Ma'at, he did not begin writing. He first listened. 3 hours of silence, 4 deep breaths, a ritual gesture, left hand over heart, a sign that his intention was clear. Only after that the word was permitted, because to the masters of the Nile, focus was not force, it was permission. You've lived this, maybe without naming it, but you've felt it. That afternoon when words came without resistance, that dance you don't remember learning, the gaze that held and time dissolved. These weren't accidents. They were spontaneous portals of resonance. And now, we learn to walk through them on purpose, because there is one modern myth we're here to dissolve. The idea that focus requires suffering, that concentration must be earned, that only the trained few can enter flow. No, Flow is a field that responds to frequency, and every frequency begins in silence, the same silence you began to feel in the last transmission. Close your eyes. Picture a golden door in front of you. It has no lock, no handle, just a seal, and this seal only responds to the coherence between your thought, your body, and your intention. That door is flow, and it doesn't open with pressure. It dissolves when you stop splitting your attention between what is and what should be. The mind that flows is the mind that trusts. Inscription from the northern chamber of Kam Ambo. A sacred pause now. What would happen if you stopped trying to concentrate and started remembering what it feels like to be pure presence? To enter this temple, you don't need to do more. You need to remove the excess, remove the noise, the inner judgments, the false promises that focus lives somewhere outside you. All of that is dust upon the seal. Now imagine that the flow state is an ancient breath, echoing between the columns of your inner temple. It doesn't come from outside. It emerges when you stop judging yourself. And here is the most sacred insight of this entire chamber. Flow is not performance, it's remembrance, a resonance between you and what you were always meant to become. When you enter flow in the next transmission, you will not be doing something right. You will finally be vibrating right. This is the point where will becomes effortless, where action becomes sacred. So then, what lies on the other side of this door? That will be the path of the next chamber, Thoth and the architecture of sacred focus, where we'll see how the scribe of the gods shaped the mental plane as one who draws the corridors of creation. But for now, breathe once more, feel the mind quiet, feel the seal resonate. The door is opening. Flow is not something you chase. It's a chamber you remember how to enter. If your brain were a temple, each wave would be a room, and each frequency, a different gate to walk through. Now that the door is open, let us walk deeper into the chambers of your own mind, not as a scientist dissects, but as a priest walks into mystery. You've likely heard these names before: Alpha, Theta, Delta, Gamma, but rarely have they been presented as what they truly are: sacred keys. Each one, a tone in the architecture of consciousness. Each one, a vibration that unlocks a different layer of flow. In ancient rites, initiates were guided through tone transitions, not lectures. They sat in circular chambers, where harmonic sounds were played for hours. These were not random chants. They were neural codes, frequencies tuned to the Earth's breath, the Schumann resonance, and the pulse of the pineal light. Let's bring this into your world now. Alpha, the doorway of relaxed focus. The mind is awake, yet calm. This is the garden where seeds of intention begin to root. This is the state of creative flow, light meditation, soft clarity. Your thoughts slow down, but remain accessible, coherent. Theta, the deeper temple. Here, your inner voice grows louder, not the one filled with doubt, but the one that whispers truth in symbols. In Theta, we enter the realm of memory, intuition, and healing. This is where your will and your vision begin to merge. Gamma, the chamber of revelation. High-frequency coherence, moments of aha, insights that arrive as downloads. Some monks achieve this after hours of deep prayer. Some creators enter it when lost in their masterpiece. It is rare, but it is reachable when the system aligns. The mistake is thinking you must force your brain into these states. The truth is simpler and older. Frequency follows intention, and intention follows vibration. Fragment from the temple of sound. Abidus, your breath, is the first conductor. Your stillness is the second, and your willingness to release judgment is the third. With these three, even without knowing a single scientific fact, you can begin to enter flow, as they did. Not by pushing, by remembering. Let us practice now. Close your eyes just for a moment. Inhale slowly for 4 counts. Hold for 2. Exhale for 6. Do this again. Feel the field shift. You've just moved closer to Alpha, and in that shift, the seal begins to dissolve. Not metaphorically, energetically. Your brain, your breath, your awareness, they are instruments. And this is your return to the sacred song. Flow is not speed. It is sacred alignment with the present. When you vibrate in coherence, the world around you begins to respond, not just energetically, but physically, emotionally, and even materially. This is why the Emerald Code is not a theory. It's a living ritual of frequency, geometry, and attention. It's the reactivation of your ability to dwell in the chamber without rushing to escape. You do not reach flow. You return to it, when your body and breath agree to trust again. So let me ask you, what state is your mind in now? What wave are you vibrating in as we speak? Can you feel it? You're already inside the shift. And that, my friend, is the very beginning of conscious mastery. In the next chamber, you will meet the architect of this sacred structure, Thoth, not as myth, but as a master of mental law, who understood that the temple of focus must be drawn before it is entered. The temple breathes when you do, the symbol appears when you stop chasing it, and the flow begins when you become still enough to feel it. They say the gods once wrote with light, but Thoth wrote with silence first. Who was Thoth? Really, to the ancient Egyptians, he was more than a deity. He was the divine mind, the intelligence behind all creation, not just the god of writing, but of order, rhythm, mental alignment. He did not merely record truth, he structured it, encoded it, architected it, and this is your initiation into his domain, not as worshiper, as co-architect, because sacred focus isn't something you wait to receive. It's a temple you learn to draw, thought by thought, breath by breath. Every mental state, if aligned, becomes a corridor of manifestation, fragment from the emerald tablets. Let's step into metaphor now. Imagine your mind as a sacred hall, wide and empty, and each thought as a pillar, each belief a wall, each repeated emotion a ceiling. Now ask yourself, is your inner temple built with sacred geometry, or with the chaos of borrowed opinions and scattered images? Thoth taught that focus was not intensity, but structure. It had proportion, timing, symmetry, and the highest minds did not think more. They thought with rhythm. Thought, in its highest form, is a harmonic current, an inscription from the solar chamber of Karnak. This is the architecture of mental flow. Intention as foundation, the will that sets the tone. Attention as pillar, where energy rests and amplifies. Emotion as atmosphere, shaping how deeply thought vibrates. Action as sacred motion, sealing the temple with embodied resonance. Miss one, and the structure collapses. Include all, and thought becomes temple. Let me tell you about David. He was a visionary. Ideas poured through him like waterfalls, but execution, scattered, overwhelmed, exhausted, until one day he stopped trying to stay focused and began asking, what geometry am I building in my mind right now? That changed everything. He began mornings in silence, outlined not his to-do list but his mental floor plan. One single intention, 3 emotional tones to carry, a movement that honored each. Like ritual, by noon, he wasn't chasing tasks. He was walking through his own inner architecture, and his presence became magnetic. Focus isn't fragile, it's sacred, and it becomes unshakable when built on archetypal alignment. Let's go deeper. Thoth used symbols because symbols hold structure. A single glyph could encapsulate a law, a story, a vibration. This is why hieroglyphs were not just letters, they were living geometries, each one vibrating with the essence of what it named. You do this too. Every thought you repeat becomes a glyph etched in your field. Every image you allow becomes a line in the diagram of your mind. So here's the question. What symbols are you drawing today? And are they sacred? Let's do this together now. Close your eyes. Inhale for 4. Hold for 4. Exhale for 6. Now visualize a blank stone wall in front of you. And you, as Thoth's apprentice, holding a light pen, you are about to inscribe the architecture of your sacred focus. What image arises first? What does your day feel like? Drawn as a temple. Let it emerge. Don't force. Just allow the glyphs to appear. This is not imagination. This is mental creation in its primal form. To write upon the mind with reverence is to command reality without force. Line 34, Tablet 6, Emerald Code Fragment. In a moment, we'll bring this structure into your practice. But first, hear this truth. You are not mentally weak. You are structurally scattered. And scattered minds are not broken. They are temples in the middle of rebuilding. Let this bring peace and strength. Now breathe again. Look again at your inner temple. Can you see its outline now? Because in the next block we will walk into its central chamber, the one Thoth reserved only for the initiated, where thoughts no longer pass like clouds, but become spells, tools, and carriers of vibrational command. Where your thought is shaped with reverence, your reality follows with precision. Before the world was word, it was wave, and before wave, it was shape. This is the secret of the glyph. Silence made visible. We've arrived at a threshold. You now understand that Thoth doesn't just teach focus. He teaches structure through vibration, and this leads us to one of the most mysterious tools ever used in the temples, the glyph of flow. Not a written symbol, but an internal design, a geometry of mind and breath, intention and stillness that allows vibrational coherence to emerge from within. In the temple of Esna, it was whispered, "Each initiate must draw their own glyph of silence, or the doors will not open." This glyph is not for decoration. It is a tool, a map, a vibrational container. It holds your intention, your rhythm, your sacred tone. When drawn correctly, even in your inner field, it begins to resonate, and that resonance activates the corridor of flow. Let's begin. Imagine for a moment that your current mental state has a shape, not metaphorically, literally. What does scattered thought look like? Perhaps a jagged web, or spirals spinning away from center. Now feel what coherent focus might resemble. A spiral inward, a single point of light expanding gently from the core, a glyph of stillness in motion. This is where we begin designing your inner flow. In ancient schools, the first glyph taught to initiates was not of power, it was of silence, because without inner stillness, power becomes noise. Only stillness can contain vibration without distortion. The still glyph speaks louder than the loudest voice. Echo from the house of Thoth, Hermopolis. Now let's trace this glyph together. Sit in upright posture. Breathe slowly. Visualize a circle in front of your heart, about the size of your palm. Inhale and feel that circle light up with soft white light. With each breath, a spiral begins to emerge from its center. Slow, rhythmic, pulsing. This spiral is not spinning out, but drawing energy inward, gently tightening focus toward the center of being. Each full breath is one line of this glyph. You are not imagining. You are etching. You are becoming the scribe of your own attention field. Now, pause. Hold the image. Feel how your body has slowed, your breath has deepened, and your thoughts have softened their edges. This is what happens when attention becomes architecture, and when silence is no longer the absence of thought, but its sacred container. Where focus is designed, not forced, the flow becomes natural. Where silence is structured, not demanded, stillness becomes a gift. Where vibration is drawn, not chased, resonance takes root. Let me offer a story. Elena was a healer, lost in her own noise. Every day, overwhelmed, distracted, exhausted from trying to be present, until she stopped trying and began drawing, not with hands, but with mind and breath. Each morning she traced the glyph of stillness, a circle, a spiral, a pulse. Within a week, her sessions shifted, her energy stabilized, her words gained weight, not because she forced focus, but because she designed stillness first. This is the path of the inner glyph. A scattered soul cannot hold power, but a still soul becomes a temple. Tablet 9, Emerald Echoes. Here's a sacred truth few speak aloud. You were never unfocused, you were just undefined. Like light without a lens, like sound without a chamber, you were powerful, but unshaped. The glyph brings shape, not by controlling, by inviting sacred form. So now we arrive at your ritual, tonight, or whenever your next creative act begins. Before anything is done, sit, close your eyes, breathe, trace the glyph, even 90 seconds, 3 spirals, 3 breaths, 3 layers of you, aligned, and you'll feel it. Presence arrives not with pressure, but with design, because flow is not something chaotic minds fall into. It is a field sacred minds activate, and the glyph is your key. As we prepare for the next block, we begin turning the glyph outward, into the spoken word, into the shaped will, into the realm where the mental becomes vibrational command. We step now into the tone behind thought, a chamber where the power of sound, breath, and inner silence converge to become force. Silence is not emptiness, it is structure, waiting to be activated. You don't think with your mind alone, you think with your tone. Let this settle. Your thoughts are not silent. They vibrate, not just in your head, but through your body, your field, your reality. Each thought carries a tone, and each tone carries a command, often unconscious, but always real. This is why you can say, "I believe in abundance," yet still emit scarcity. Why you can chant mantras, but still feel unworthy, because beneath the surface words lives something deeper, the tone behind the thought. In ancient temples, initiates were taught not to think positively, but to tune internally. They would sit in silence, then pronounce a single word, not for repetition, but to feel the frequency it released. If the tone was pure, it opened the body. If distorted, it revealed misalignment. Let's make this real. Say the word I am out loud, now again, but whisper it. And once more, silently inside. Did you feel the shift? It's the same phrase, but each time, your tone changed. And with it, your energy did too. This is not philosophy. This is neuroacoustic command, long known in esoteric science, and now confirmed by brainwave mapping. Thought creates frequency. Frequency conditions matter, and your tone commands your field. This is the first key. Your thoughts are never neutral. Every single one emits a tone that either fragments or harmonizes. When you think I can't, you're not just narrating. You're sending a signal, and your nervous system listens. Your reality shapes accordingly. Second key, you can learn to shape your tone consciously. This is where true manifestation begins, not with desire, but with vibrational coherence. You don't attract what you want, you attract what you tone, and your tone is a field in motion. Let me show you a ritual. Sit comfortably. Inhale slowly for 5. Exhale longer for 8. Repeat twice more. Now whisper to yourself, I trust the rhythm that moves through me, not just with words. Feel it vibrate in your throat, your chest, your core. Say it again, but this time, say it like it's a note you're playing, not just a phrase. That's the tone behind the thought. The gods do not speak. They sing in frequencies beyond hearing. Carving from the secret chamber of Dendera, let's be even clearer. There are 3 layers of tone behind every thought you hold. Mental layer, the actual words and beliefs you form. Emotional layer, the energetic charge beneath them. Fear, trust, doubt. Somatic layer, how your body vibrates in response to what you believe. When these 3 are misaligned, tone is broken. When aligned, tone becomes command. This is why affirmations often don't work. They fix the top layer, but leave the emotional and somatic layers untouched. But when all 3 resonate together, your tone becomes law. The universe doesn't respond to words, it responds to vibration, and vibration begins with how you feel when you think. Modern neuroscience calls this resonant neural entrainment. Your thoughts literally condition your brainwave frequency. Think in panic, and you drop into beta chaos. Think in clarity, and you rise into alpha or theta. Ancient masters already knew this. They didn't need machines, they had tone. The word is not the sound, it is the alignment behind the sound. Echo of the inner hall, Luxor. So how do you reshape your inner tone? Let's move from mystery to practice. Tone ritual. 3 steps to reset your inner frequency. Stop. Notice a thought that keeps repeating today. Pick one phrase that's been circling your mind. Example, I don't know if I can. Feel. Speak it once. Pause. Feel how your body reacts. Tight. Shallow breath. Chest closed. You're now identifying tone misalignment. Tune. Now shift the phrase to, I don't need to know everything to begin. Say it slowly. As a note. As if each word were a sacred bell. Now feel again, the breath, the openness, the new tone. This is vibrational reprogramming in real time. You've just done what most miss entirely. You became the musician of your own field. Thoth would say, you began to command instead of narrate. Every repeated thought becomes a tone, every repeated tone becomes a frequency, and every frequency becomes a doorway or a wall. Let me share a truth I've kept quiet until now. The thoughts you fight don't need to be silenced. They need to be retuned. Fighting them feeds them. Tuning them transforms them. Your anxiety? It's a tone too high. Your numbness? A tone too low. Your task is not to eliminate but to resonate. So let me ask you, what are you toning into your field right now, unconsciously? What's the dominant vibration behind your thoughts today? And what would change if you tuned every thought like a sacred bell in the temple of your being? This is where we turn now. In the next transmission, you will learn to combine tone with emotion and movement, activating the final key of vibrational coherence, embodied flow. But for now, let this truth echo. You don't need louder thoughts. You need truer tone. And you are ready to vibrate in sacred command. A thought without breath is an echo. A thought with breath becomes a tone. A thought with breath and motion becomes a world. This is where it all becomes real, because there's a moment when knowledge must be stepped into, not just spoken about. That moment is now. You've seen how thought is tone, how tone shapes field, and how silence can become a structure. Now we ask, what happens when movement becomes the language of inner truth? Welcome to embodied flow, not the rush of adrenaline, not the burnout-fueled productivity, but a sacred rhythm between inner alignment and outer action. The ancients called it the invisible dance, the moment when the mind ceases to interfere and begins to follow the breath of will. Let's anchor this in image. Picture a dancer. She's not memorizing steps. She's not thinking of the next beat. Her body knows, because her mind is no longer leading. It's aligned. This is flow, not as performance, but as presence in motion. You've felt this too. That moment when time slows. You write, and the words arrive on their own. You speak, and truth pours without rehearsal. You move, and the body becomes intelligence. This is not coincidence, it's coherence. Three forces now converge. Thought, your inner vision, the silent script emotion, your energetic charge, the tone behind action movement, your physical rhythm, the external seal of intention. When these three spiral together, the field obeys, reality reorganizes, and you become magnetic. Let's ritualize this. Mini practice, the spiral of embodied will. Stand tall, eyes gently closed. Inhale through the nose for 4. As you exhale, let your hands rise slowly, like you're pulling light up from the earth. With the next breath, feel a word form in your heart. One word, not should, but truth, maybe, clarity, presence, courage, stillness. As you exhale, move your arms in a spiral, wide, graceful. Let that word shape the gesture. You're not acting, you're becoming the tone. Repeat 3 times. Now pause, feel. Notice how your body has become a temple of coherence. This is embodied flow, where every breath becomes alignment, every gesture a glyph, every step a vibration encoded with purpose. Let me offer a story. Jonas was a strategist. His mind, sharp, but his body, always tense, disconnected. He tried meditation, journaling, stillness. Nothing lasted until he began moving, with breath, with word, with tone. Every morning he combined one intention, clear vision, with one movement. He would walk slowly, hand over heart, breathing in rhythm. He stopped trying to be focused, and started embodying clarity. His ideas flowed. Meetings softened. Clients felt it without him saying a word, because he had become coherence in motion. Flow is not passive. It is activated through micro-rituals of alignment. This is why the Emerald Temples always included movement in their initiations. Chants weren't sung sitting. They were walked, danced, spiraled through corridors, echoing through the bones of the initiate. Why? Because the body remembers what the mind forgets. So let us anchor this truth. You don't need perfect posture. You need intentional rhythm. You don't need hours of practice. You need 3 conscious minutes, 3 minutes each morning, to move, breathe, speak one truth, and become a living glyph. Repeat after me. I am the rhythm that brings my vision into form. Say it slowly. Let the phrase spiral through your spine. You're not just affirming. You're training the body to remember your command. This is not motivation. It is energetic engineering. Let's connect this to neuroscience. In flow state, the prefrontal cortex relaxes. That's the part of the brain responsible for overthinking, self-criticism, hesitation. As it softens, the motor cortex and limbic systems synchronize. You literally stop thinking and begin moving from memory encoded in the soul. This is why action becomes intuitive. You're not acting from logic. You're flowing from frequency. This is also why sacred movement heals trauma, because trauma is the memory of movement interrupted, and flow is the return of movement in full permission. When your gesture carries truth, your cells remember safety, your nervous system reclaims rhythm, your soul exhales. Let this be your ritual. Embodied focus protocol. 5 minutes, daily stand. Feel your feet. Anchor. Set an intention. 1 word only. Breathe in 4-4-8 rhythm. As you breathe, move in spirals. Hands, spine, shoulders. Let the word guide you. Don't perform. Become. End with stillness. Feel the echo of the motion in your chest. You've just coded your day. Not mentally, energetically. This is what Thoth taught. Not magic spells, but structured motion of thought through breath and body. The body is the final altar of attention. Thought is the fire. Emotion is the incense. Movement is the offering. In the next chamber, we step into the crown of stillness, where everything you've aligned becomes a sovereign field of presence, no longer shifting with emotion or outer noise, but radiating with silent command. But for now, let this truth ground you. When mind, heart, and body move as one, flow becomes your natural rhythm. He who masters thought sits upon the invisible throne. fragment of the emerald inscription, temple of the crown. You've crossed chambers. You've learned to sense the tone behind thought, to shape silence into structure, to spiral movement into meaning. But now we arrive at the final veil, mental sovereignty. It's a forgotten concept. In today's world, power is confused with noise, control with chaos, presence with pressure. But the true sovereign doesn't shout. They sit, they listen, they emanate. This is the paradox. The mind at its highest frequency becomes quiet, not because it is empty, but because it is complete. And completion doesn't seek, it radiates. We call this the crown of stillness, not a title, a frequency, a state in which your thoughts obey your will, not your fears, a seat from which inner chaos is no longer chased, but transcended. This is the throne within. Close your eyes. Feel the top of your head, not physically, vibrationally. There is a point there, a center, a golden sphere perhaps. This is the symbolic seat of your awareness. It is not a chakra. It is not a technique. It is the place from which you choose your thought. Most people don't choose, they react, respond, repeat. They are ruled by old commands, forgotten echoes. But when you sit in the inner throne, you become the source of new law. This is not fantasy. It is the discipline of stillness. Let me offer a reflection. Throughout your life, your mind has been shaped by 1,000 voices. Parents, teachers, trauma, society, fear. Each voice, a command. Each command, a tone. Each tone, a reality. But whose voice has ruled your throne? And when was the last time you issued a decree from silence that became the law of your being? This is your sovereignty. The ability to think with clarity, speak with weight, and hold stillness without fear. Because stillness is not surrender, it is command without resistance. Here is what most do not know. The universe does not rush to serve the loudest mind. It aligns with the clearest field. You don't need more effort, you need resonant presence. This is why Thoth is always shown seated, writing, observing, because his power is not in dominance, but in direction. Mini practice, seated in the crown. Sit in silence, no music, no mantra. Place one hand gently on your chest. Focus your awareness 2 centimeters above your head. Breathe slowly. Say inwardly, I sit in the throne of my mind. Hold this field. No need to silence thought, only to observe. Let thoughts rise and bow. You are not the voice, you are the one the voice answers to. Let me share with you Anna's experience. She was a high-performing leader, yet inside, fractured. Meditation helped, but peace fled as soon as action resumed, until she practiced throne-seated awareness. Each day, 5 minutes, not trying to quiet the mind, but to sit in the seat beyond it. The shift was subtle, then profound. People started saying, your presence feels different. Your words carry more calm, because she no longer spoke from reaction, but from rain. This is the vibration we seal now. You are not here to escape your mind. You are here to enthrone it, to place it in service, not in command, and in doing so, you reclaim the field of reality creation. Remember the younger you, the one ruled by doubt, fragmented, reactive. Now imagine them watching you sitting still, eyes clear, command soft but unwavering. What do they feel? They remember, that throne was always yours. You simply hadn't returned to it, until now. Let's anchor this. Repeat slowly, with hand on heart. I am the silence that shapes worlds. I am the throne that thought obeys. I am the sovereign of my inner field. Say it again. Not louder, but deeper. Let your nervous system receive it. Let your field reconfigure. This is not pretend. It is permission. Echo from the Emerald Code. Stillness is not the absence of motion. It is the command behind it. This is the final seal. You've walked through. Thought as tone as command, movement as glyph, emotion as current, presence as field. Now, you are the throne, the silent source, the still frequency that moves worlds without noise. Let us end with this. The initiates of the Crown Temple were not louder, they were quieter, because when the mind rests in stillness, reality listens. You are now ready to walk through life not trying to focus, but radiating focus as presence, not chasing flow, but living it as your breath. Not asking for power, but embodying it as silence. Stillness is not surrender, it is sovereignty. The scribe who closes the scroll does not end the story. He prepares the next chamber. You've walked through silence and sound, through movement and command, through tone and throne. But every initiation must be sealed, not to end it, but to embed it, because what is not sealed dissipates. This is the glyph you now carry. Thought is frequency. Frequency is form. Form is ritual. Ritual becomes field. Field becomes fate. You are no longer a seeker of flow. You are its embodiment. And as we close this chamber, we do not end, we spiral. Remember the first tone you heard in this transmission? The dissonance, the noise, the ache of scattered thought, the invisible exhaustion of being everywhere and nowhere. You felt it in your body, your breath, your pace, your attention. But now, feel again. Are you not more here? More gathered? This is not coincidence. This is frequency architecture. The mind does not find focus. It is returned to its center. Whisper of the living scroll. Let's return to that scroll, not with ideas, but with breath. Inhale slowly, exhale even slower. Again, now repeat inwardly. My thought is tone, my tone is law. Again, let it vibrate, not in volume, in field. Let's reweave the threads. Every code you touched is alive now in your aura. Let's name them, not to remember, but to resonate. The lost tone. You now know thought is not silent. It is a frequency, the temple of breath. You learned that intention, plus breath, field, the spiral of motion. You moved truth through gesture. The throne of stillness. You return to your seat of sovereignty, the final glyph. You now seal your mind as a sacred architect. Each of these is not content. They are commands coded in your field, and from now on, they echo. Remember this? There's a tone behind every thought and most never hear it. But you did. You heard it. You shaped it. You wrote it through silence, spiral, and sovereignty. And now, you've become it. Let this echo one last time. You are not here to think more. You are here to tone deeper. And in doing so, you shape the field for those who still wander. Because your vibration is not yours alone. It is a beacon. If you feel this truth rooted in you now, if something real shifted quietly somewhere unnameable, mark your presence. Click like, not to please, but to signal. I walked this chamber. I activated something. And if you felt this transmission opened a door you didn't know existed, touch the symbol of subscription below. Join this field of sovereigns, scribes, and seekers. We are not followers. We are builders of inner temples. This is a living community, and you are one glyph in its scroll. Now let me offer one final vision. The Emerald Temple exists, not as stone, but as vibrational architecture. Every viewer, every resonance, every breath during these transmissions, they rebuild it. You are not consuming this video. You are co-writing it with your field. This is not performance, this is memory awakening. There is one more glyph, one that was kept hidden, even among initiates. It is the code of mental transmutation, not to think better, but to shift energy itself through pure intent. It is the principle behind miracles, behind instant clarity, behind quantum sovereignty, and it is what we unveil next. Inhale, place both hands gently on your solar plexus. Repeat in silence, I am the glyph and the gap. I am the silence that commands. I am the builder of invisible temples. Exhale slowly, let the field seal. The temple never closes, it changes form, and so do you.